Who can you trust? What can you trust? What's true? What's false? These are fundamental questions that everybody has to answer in the course of their lifetime. But I want to suggest it's never been more difficult to answer those questions, especially for our students. And I cannot emphasize enough how important it is that we help our children develop the skills to discern what is true, what is false, what is real, what is unreal, what is scientifically verifiable, and what isn't. But how do we do that? How do we do that when there are voices baying in the wind all the time these days, insisting that they're right without giving any proof that they're right? And our kids are deeply influenced by these voices. They're deeply influenced by people who claim authority, who claim to know what is right and wrong, even if they deny that there is right and wrong, and then who insist that our children believe and behave according to their values. We don't want to be like that. We don't want our kids to take on our values and our beliefs just because we said so, just because we were the most influential person in the room at that moment. We want them to be able to discern what is right and what is wrong by a standard that is bigger than the teacher, bigger than the school, bigger than the system, by a standard that is held on for centuries. So what is that standard? Well, let me give it to you. First and foremost, the Bible tells us that Jesus is the ultimate revelation of God, that he is the highest standard of truth, that he is the higher standard of reality. And so I want to suggest to you that, as simple as this might sound, when we faithfully present Jesus to our kids in the learning experiences of the school, where he naturally fits, clearly in Bible, clearly in chapel, but then in other areas where there might be a natural fit, we are actually equipping our kids to discern what is right and what is wrong. Because if Jesus becomes the standard of truth, the standard of reality, then it becomes easier to look at everything else and make judgments. Now, I understand this is very simplistic, because then you have to move into issues such as science. You have to move into issues such as history. What can we trust? What can't we trust? What is actually scientifically verifiable? And what are the limits of science? These are all complicated questions that we also have to help our students answer over time. And I would suggest to you that one of the things that you need to help your students develop, and this is going to sound counterintuitive, is a healthy sense of doubt. You see, they're living in a time where truth claims are made without any verification outside of the person's conviction. Now, sometimes people say that's what Christianity is like, but I would like to suggest that that is actually what the culture is like right now. And we need to help our kids question the truth claims that they're hearing in social media, in other forms of media all the time. And then they need to ask some very sharp questions. How does this person know that's true? Where does he get his evidence from? Why does she think this way? What are the ideas that she has accepted to bring her to these conclusions? And so in essence, what you're doing is you're teaching your kids to be discerning. And I'll talk more about that as we continue these little video segments. But I just want to remind you one more time that your job as a teacher is to help your children become good discerners of falsehood and truth. And as a closing note, you'll notice that in the book recommendation this month, I've recommended a book about climate change. Now, that's not normally what we would do, and I'm certainly not endorsing everything that this book has to say. But it is very interesting from this perspective. It really challenges the prevailing narrative, and it's written by someone who believes in the veracity of climate change. But this individual looks at the evidence, looks at the United Nations reports, and has a completely different interpretation. It's a fresh book. It's a challenging book. It's a great book for you to have your older students look at, because it is a bit of evidence that the people shouting the loudest in the room are not necessarily the most correct, although that seems to be the way it is today. And so as a tool to help your kids look at falsehood and truth, look at how to discern, look at how to become good judges of the information around them, this might be a tool for your more mature and deeper thinking kids. But for those that are in kindergarten, this is where to start. Jesus is the truth. Jesus is the truth. And when we start with Jesus, then the rest of reality over time begins to make sense. I hope you have a great month. Bless you. Bye.